Hello and welcome back here at the auditorium. This next session is about Teamium together with Yannick from the Teamium team. I'd like to welcome all of you who are participating, and I'm also welcoming Yannick. Yannick, please introduce yourself and introduce your company, Teamium.
Good afternoon. My name is Yannick Defrenne. I'm one of the co-founders of Teamium. Ashok Sharma and I were co-founding 3 years ago Teamium. And Teamium is a US company where we to build a SaaS platform. Initially start in Europe, and then we moved to a cloud-based solution. That's why we, create this company in US.
Yannick, thank you so much. Could you give us a little bit of an input in who is the Teamium team? You spoke about yourself and also your colleagues, but who is all around with you?
So we have a team spread in US, in India for some development and support, and in France. I'm based in France, and we have, most of the people based in US with some sales on the East Coast in New York and in Los Angeles as well. We have a funding solution partner who has put our development team in India, and that's about a 15 employees company.
Thank you so much. And you also have a very special investor that we can see also here on that slide deck. That's the NAB show. How did that came?
Oh, yeah. Thanks to remind me, Stefan. A couple of years ago, NAB was, they did only one, by the way. They were looking to find some innovation product solution toward the broadcast industry. And it was a very long process, most likely about 6-8 months. And we one of the happy winner, so we win the some innovation prize. And the good thing for us is not only of course, NAB has some equity, so is a stakeholder of the company, but it's also the labels and the brand recognition that we can carry, and we have to promote us at such NAB organization.
We spoke about the company name, and it's also the product name called Teamium. Could you tell us what was the original idea why you thought we need to come up with a product like this?
You know, I'm working more than 25 years on the broadcast industry, and while I was working with different company, studio, production equipment, and software, I get the opportunity to meet a lot of production worldwide. And I was very surprised by how the people still very often today managing the production on spreadsheet, mail, of course, sometimes we can call legacy tool, but a lot of disjointed equipment. And when this idea came about 5-6 years ago, I really felt that we need to get a solution, one platform to onboard every component and any production stakeholder.
So it is a tool mainly made for productions in general, so to organize?
Yes. It's the production, it's an umbrella word, but of course we can go more deeply, and you get a post-production house, so you have some services in post-production. That's also part of the Teamium workflow. It could be news, it could be sports event. So any media creation or content creation, and that's where Teamium can apply, and they can really improve all the administration, the orchestration work around the production.
So then what are the special customer needs, use cases, and let's say pain points that you try to address with Teamium? So what is the motivation to come to you and to talk about your product or to have a project with you?
One of the first pain point is the scheduling component. A lot of companies are bootstrapping web calendars, spreadsheets, and this is not really designed to really schedule whatever we're talking about, staff, personal, and also equipment. Try to get an Excel spreadsheet with a barcode, or use a web calendar and try to stick some labor rules. It's I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's extremely difficult. So the main pain point is they have the jointing tool and say, how can I have a better schedule of my entire production team and equipment?
I think we will then drill down into other needs a little bit later, but at this very moment I'm simply summarizing. It is all about to organize the production, stuff, equipment, and to use a tool that is exactly made for this, instead of using tools that are not really tailored to that or not made for that at all. So to get away from any chaos and to get into a more structured post-production or production process. Yannick, again, the product name is Teamium. Could you please tell us a little bit about what is Teamium? What does it especially offer? What is the feature set of Teamium? What are the different areas of functionality that Teamium is offering?
So based on this main pain point, that the scheduling, we have identified what is the steps to avoid double entry. Very often, production enter between 4 to 6 times the same content, and you can imagine entering so many times that can cause some errors and also time and labors. So from the scheduling, we identify that we need to work upstream and say how you create a budget, how you create a quotation, and how the way you do that seamlessly can be translated into a scheduling. And on the downside is how you can report properly any cost, any billing information when the schedule has been completed.
So then what is the all-over high-level business process that Teamium is targeting? So where does it start, and what steps within a business process is Teamium addressing?
So our platform propose that from ideation, when you get the idea, when you need to create a budget, you get the documentary or any form that you would like to produce, you need to understand what will be the cost. So that's the first thing. And whole the way down, you have approval mechanism in place. You get also digital signature in place that facilitate any steps. So from the budgeting, you can easily move to the booking and the scheduling of the resources. Scheduling resources is wider. It's not only your own equipment you may need to rent, and you have to go through procurement. You also need to, you're working, as you know, with some flex labor, the freelancer, and tracking any cost, any changes that may happen during the production. So this financial tracking, it's very important, and we did it in a very simple way for the user. So it's always kind of boring to work on that. So we have embedded really the cost tracking into the solution. Ultimately, we push to the invoice. We create the invoice.
So again, to summarize what I've understood, it is you can calculate costs, you can create proposals, quotations. Are you addressing also the topic that you take in the purchase order with like sales order acknowledgements, things like that?
Yes, we identify on the scheduling level any component that you don't have in-house. So everything that you need to outsource, we have a dedicated container for that, and we initiate the booking request. So either Teamium working on 100% autonomy, and the booking request you can call as a purchase order is generated in Teamium. Or if you're working with another financial system, we informing this financial system, and we had some interaction between them. But that's how we manage a procurement, and the procurement is directly viewable on the scheduling. That's one of the smart features we have, very convenient for the production.
And I assume the integration with the financial system does mainly apply then to the invoicing that has to happen at the very end of the day, or the internal money transfers in between departments or subsidiaries of a larger enterprise.
Yes, most of the time you're right, Stefan. That's at the end when we need to push to this financial system. We have some time to time. It also can come at the very early stage of the process when managing client, for example, client as a production company may have a specific rate, specific condition and sales terms, and that's also been captured usually by the financial system, and Teamium are using it for all the way down from budgeting to the billing. So sometimes it could also happen very early.
So, but the main focus of the product is, let's say, on everything that happens in the middle. So in all the, you call it the booking, the scheduling, the resource allocation. Can you elaborate on this a little bit? So what does it mean? How do you interact with the own staff, with freelancers, with external suppliers? And how do you deal with managing equipment?
So we have made several pages or UI. We are able, for example, when we're talking about equipment, managing the barcode. I mean, just scanning barcode, that's make very simple process and very fast way to borrow equipment and of course return equipment. That's focused on, let's say, on news part. When we also booking facility, what we have done, it's again, it's a tool that quickly, without, let's say, scheduling, but using some automation and machine learning, suggests some of the route. When we talking about outsourcing, and then there are two ways. Either it's equipment, and we can send some requests to some vendors. So we have one part of Teamium. I will say I can use the word CRM, but the purpose is just, let's say, it's managing contact of vendors, what they can provide for you, what kind of equipment usually you rent to them. And Teamium within Teamium, you can ask them about availability, pricing, and delivery. So we can reduce the amount of email chain and discussion that sometimes is not part of the project folder. And we have something very similar for the freelancer.
I will come back to this topic in a moment later, but for now, let's talk a little bit about who are your typical customers. We spoke about the all-over business process, about the use case, but who are the customers that you are addressing with Teamium?
So we start initially with broadcasters. Broadcasters who have, let's say, 10 to 100 projects to manage a day production. Sometimes it's live production, either in news or in general content creation. We have some live sports event. We get some documentary and content creators working also in post-production. Some post-production firm for color finishing, VFX, and some rental. That's also equipment rental and studio rental. That's also the other user of Teamium.
When we speak about a broadcaster, and you mentioned the production, the post-production, but there are other departments in a broadcaster that also need scheduling of staff and shifts. What other would you address with Teamium?
So we have, and you're right, we get some example of broadcaster as multiple business units. So this, we have built an enterprise solution that under one roof, the top management can oversee any post-production work, production, transmission, any type of production could be reported in one single management tool. And also the benefit for the user, for any of his business unit, they can fine-tune and reorganize not only the UI, but the automation, the overall workflow to fit their own business. So the same company may fit post-production as a broadcaster, they're using a lot of post-production as well to change the credit, to create the promos and that, and using by a different part for the production, live event, red carpet event.
I see. So when we speak about a broadcaster, a news organization, and also some of the post-production companies, I assume they have larger ecosystems where integrations are needed and where Teamium is not the only element that they have. How would Teamium integrate with the surroundings?
We have an API, a RESTful API, that give an easy entry entry point to our platform. And you're right. Customers coming for one or two needs, let's say, or modules that is needed, and they maybe not using the time report that we have on Teamium or the expenses report that we have. And that's feature we serve, let's say, regional TV market that maybe doesn't have such tools. However, on the enterprise or big corporation, they already have in place such tools, and that's where the API it's helpful. And the other part is also because we have built this feature within Teamium that we can integrate seamlessly.
So would that mean it helps that when I have, let's say, scheduled a production with Teamium, did all the cost calculations, and I sent out a camera team, that from Teamium I can initiate the next steps in the media creation chain? So like, for instance, to prepare slots at a production asset management system, to fill in when the material comes back from the shootings and is being ingested into such systems?
Yeah, we do have a status and for each we call booking event. So that's an interesting example that we also, this is a project management tool as well. When you have some sequential task, so every assigned, let's say, editor, VFX, or people who has to work on a task can not only enter his time, but you can track real time where he's up to on the completion of his task. So we provide such monitoring, but at the end, we also can trigger some information to a third-party BPM or orchestrators or MAM solution.
Would that also apply to news operations, like to interact with newsroom systems or other content management systems, archive systems, whatsoever?
We do have a couple of new NRCS integrated with Teamium, different flavor, let's say, based on the solution. The benefits on these two solutions, the main benefits is, on the NRCS, it's not the purpose to manage the people. You get a list of the people, but you don't know who will be there. So we have a roster that and you can build hold the presence of the personnel. That's one thing. The second is we get a profile, and we can also suggest who has less hours for the week or for the month, and we can suggest, we can help in the overall scheduling. So we fitting an NRCS with such information, even if some NRCS is using, let's say, their main user interface, some of the engine on the back is Teamium, and Teamium is also used by the line producer in NRCS, in the news broadcasters.
So when we talk about news broadcasting, sports, and also other studio productions, our customers often work with freelancers. How would Teamium support such an interaction with freelancers, and how does that differentiate from managing their own stuff? Yeah,
the freelancer have they can access to the Teamium. We call and we grant them what we call a collaborator license. And what is important is to ensure that the person get the contract on time. The contract is agreed, and we have some acknowledgement before you starting the production. So they are, let's say, a slightly different process for the hiring and the booking of the person. And the freelancer has his own space, his own landing page, where, of course, he knows in detail. If it's a production, he's get a digital call sheet, so he know what he has to do. If it's a work order and post-production, he get also all the detail. I can fulfill that, so we don't have to go and, I mean, our client don't have to print specific document. Everything is go digital, whether it's on mobile or on the desktop. And one other point is some freelancer may work with different marketplace, and we also managing this part.
I see. So we spoke about staff and the productions. Let's talk a little bit about equipment. What type of equipment are you able to manage?
We have tend to be very global in the way we manage equipment. So you can enter a studio, and a studio, what will be interesting, you may have a different set of keyword relevant to the type of equipment. Studio may be the lighting grid, could be the area, what size it is. While you were working with an ENG camera and you care about maybe the battery, the memory, the tripod, the lens, is what kind of package you have built. So we have created one unique UI, but you can obviously specify with some user-defined field for any type of equipment. So that facilitate. I talked earlier about barcode management. That's also one way for, let's say, kind of portable equipment or rental equipment. That's there.
So that on one hand means it reflects to I'm allocating resources, physical resource like the studio itself, the camera, probably the post-production editing suite, and obviously then I have to look into the pricing and things like that. But what about managing the equipment itself? So when it probably has to be sent to maintenance and so on.
Yeah, we for any equipment, you can create some milestone for preventive maintenance, where we're talking, for example, also about software or a solution that you need to subscribe, for software. You get an edit suite and you get the editing software that you can indicate all these milestone or license renewal, service level agreement renewal into the equipment, and we generate the report. Not only the reminder that say, what really we care is get the most productive tool. And if you want to schedule at the best your resource, it's better to get your equipment, of course, ready. So by informing in advance that such license will be obsolete, that's an help to make your equipment more available, more efficient. And for the financial point of view, it's also some good metrics that you can have in advance to forecast your expenses.
So we spoke about quite a lot of features so far. I would like to encourage you all out there, if you have questions, please send that in. You can enlarge the player in our auditorium, and that way you get access to a chat functionality, and this is being seen in our control room, and I will hear it through the earpieces and will be told what you are interested in. Please tell us all your questions that way. Yannick, let's go on a little bit and let's talk about costs and cost savings. I would imagine putting a tool like Teamium in place does cost a lot of money on one hand, but is there also a way how it can help saving costs?
Definitely the saving cost. Remember, and I suggest that you do the exercise on your company to say, this data, when you enter to the budget, down to the scheduling, go through the roster of the person and so on into the billing, it's a lot of time spent. A lot of distorted tools. So how many times you copy, you re-enter the data. So a good way to measure the savings and the return on investment that you can generate is try to identify all the labor spent to do that. The second part where you're saving is the real-time status. So often I've heard from from the producer, I did my job, but I know 1 month, 2 months after. It takes time to understand how much we have spent some money. Teamium, you can, in advance, you predict how much you will spend. So for the cost management, project cost management, it's a very important tool that you know where you are. And we're providing a real-time financial dashboard. Very important for account manager to track that. So we think that the return on investment it's usually very short, and it's worth, of course.
So at the very beginning, we spoke about this all-over business process that starts with the quoting, and then obviously with all the scheduling, the production happens, and we ended with the invoicing. So I assume there's also a good reason why Teamium should be put in place, not only to save costs, but also to make money, isn't it?
Yeah, we can. What is interesting, and it's to exactly how much you spend to a production, so you can clearly identify and get a better, not better ID. You get a real cost of production. So that's an help when you need to organize and plan new production in the future.
I see. Yannick, we spoke quite a lot about typical customers in the media industry. But I assume there are also other customers in the surroundings that also can make use of such tools, especially when it's about managing the all-over business process. Could you give us some example who this could be? Who is not a broadcaster, not a post-production facility, for instance?
Yeah, we have identified a couple of them. Advertising, the ad agency could be one. An ad agency have to create different type of content, different format for different platforms. So that's an interesting part of Teamium is we have the planning level that help to capture the overall budget and ensure that this planning is respected. So that's one of the adjacent market. Another one is all the event or trade show when you're creating some production. Very often you see stage, camera, live interview, and that's kind of they are using the same tools and component. So Teamium can also fit this market, we believe.
What about others that run stages like theaters, sports stadiums, convention halls, conferencing halls, probably even trade shows and others?
That's an opportunity. We have not, let's say, the sales team to focus on that, but I hope that definitely we don't see such differences on the overall process, and I do believe that Teamium will fit, and I'm happy to go and investigate on this kind of segment.
Yannick, towards the end of our session right now, I would like to ask you, what is the all-over business model and pricing model of Teamium? How can I get access to it?
We have two formula. The on-premises, that's where you deploy. We deploy Teamium within your hardware and your infrastructure, so that's one. And the other one that we let's say the most used in North America and part of Europe is AWS. It's a cloud-based solution. So that's the two way you can use and consume Teamium. The way we're doing for pricing, this is a subscription plan. So based on the number of users you have, you get also the choice of 3 different plans. So if you are a company with 5 users, of course, you may not need the roster. You don't need all the fully blown applications. So we have one plan to feed this market. We get an intermediate plan called Professional for mid-sized company, and let's say already interesting bulk of feature. And for let's say the enterprise, we call the enterprise version. That's where you get the API. That's where you get a lot of most of the feature there for enterprise, from time report, expenses report, roster, and even more.
Yannick, how would you say does a customer qualify to be the right one for Teamium? It's probably a little bit strange question, but I assume it's not only the question about the size of the company or the size of the team that needs such a tool, but who at the end of the day really should look into Teamium?
If your customer using a spreadsheet or a web calendar to manage the production, you have already a good hit right there, because you at the end is not one spreadsheet, is multiple of spreadsheet that make very complicated to get a real-time overview of the production, and that's where you're losing money. So any client that using a simple spreadsheet or web calendar, it's worth to talk about Teamium.
So you would say if I'm a company of 5 person and I have 5 person to schedule, I'm already the right one to look into Teamium?
Yes, because you will get right from the beginning when you do the scheduling, as we capture the cost, you will be able to generate your invoice in few clicks. And that's important. I mean, managing the cash flow, you know, Stefan, as a businessman, that it's very important. So why waiting, you know, and creating multiple documents? So even a 5-person company, we do have a solution. We have this version of Teamium, but very focused on scheduling, managing the resource, and billing. That's but time saving and accurate billing is also important. What also we hear is sometimes people forget who doesn't have the right information to bill. How often the producers say, oh, I need another version, I need another deliverable. So a lot of job and services maybe are not captured properly. And that's where Teamium can help.
I see. So that means for a smaller company that can even be the financial system that they use also to do all their invoicing. Now, what about the little bit larger one? I assume where you have like 2-3 people managing 50. Is that still the right product?
Yeah, we have for them, what we do based on the roster, we have a resource utilization. And I take an example, sometime you talking about Edit Suite. People say, oh, we are short, but how do we know if they can optimize the booking time of a suite? How do they know how they optimize the booking time of some of the staff? So we do provide a resource utilization chart, and we, again, a line producer, top manager can access to this information. So a middle-sized company will identify any area that could be, let's not say improved, but they get some latitude to work on that.
And I assume you are not afraid of even serving for larger enterprises that have to manage quite a large number of own staff or freelancers outside.
Yeah, and you know, larger it is, it's always more complex to create a reporting. And it's very often we see they get a dedicated staff to create the report. Enterprise managing multiple business units. Each business unit have a different workflow. And in Teamium, we have the capability to build your own report. And again, reporting any type of equipment or resource and personal directly to the top management.
So Control told me that I have to come to an end, but Yannick, I have one more question. so far, we have spoken about all that software, but we've not spoken about how it is being deployed and accessed. So we spoke about the cloud, but for the larger enterprise, is there also an on-prem version? And is it a rental software, or is it always a software as a service, or do I own it?
You get the choice. We cover the three. The first plan we have, it's in the cloud, is a software as a service with an annual subscription. That's number one. For enterprise, we also sell as perpetual license on premises. So we cover, let's say, the both type of use or consumption of the software. When we go on premises, of course, there are some deployment, a little bit more compared to what we will do on cloud, as we get our DevOps optimized for that. And obviously, an enterprise, as you know, there are integration to existing solution. It's not always the full Teamium enterprise as day one use on a company. There are some module to start.
Yannick, have many, many thanks for joining me in this afternoon here in the auditorium.
Thank you, Stefan. It was a pleasure, and I do enjoy this interview. It was rich.
So, and thank you so much to all of you out there who have been with us here in the auditorium. Yannick will be available in the coffee bar in just some minutes from now. The coffee bar can be found at the start page of our events portal. The orange button in the middle of the top is the one that brings you to the coffee bar. Here you can socialize with the other clients and all the other vendors, and Yannick will be there as well to answer your questions. And then a little bit later, in roughly an hour from now, Yannick will also run a demo in the demo room of Teamium. This can be found in the portal at the navigation under brands, and there you will find Teamium. And right aside of the Teamium product description, there is a button that brings you to the demo room. Demo room and coffee bar are video conferencing rooms, so we can see each other, we can talk to each other, we can share screens, we can share presentations, we can act with each other. So thank you so much for this, and please stay tuned here in the auditorium if you are interested in our next session. In just some minutes from now, we will have Oliver Meurer here from Flowworks together with my colleague Jutta, talking about media asset management system. Thank you so much for the moment.